The silence of the night often carries a peculiar weight. It is in those hours when distractions fall away that many feel the quiet ache of disconnection from themselves, from purpose, from the flow of life they long to experience. If you have ever found yourself awake, wondering why prosperity feels distant no matter how much effort you make, then this introduction is for you. Because abundance, contrary to what many pens and voices have promised, is not the reward of endless struggle. It is the natural rhythm of alignment between thought, body, and the deeper intelligence of the universe. This video begins with an invitation to consider that your current results, whether they are financial, emotional, or relational, are not a reflection of your worth but of the coherence or incoherence of your inner state. When the mind insists on abundance but the body vibrates scarcity, every attempt to manifest becomes an echo lost in the void. The gap between what you imagine and what you embody creates frustration. It is not that the law of attraction does not work, it is that your frequency is out of tune. What we will explore here is not a miracle, but a protocol, a deliberate way of rearranging your attention, emotions, and behaviors so that your life becomes a signal clear enough to be answered. This protocol is built upon two foundations: the understanding from neuroscience that the brain is plastic, endlessly reprogrammable through focus and repetition, and the timeless principle that energy flows where attention goes, a truth embedded in every spiritual tradition. Throughout this journey, you will be guided to face the pain of old stories, the silent ways you sabotage your own expansion, and the subtle signals of the universe waiting to be decoded. You will learn not only how to manifest abundance, but how to stabilize it, so that prosperity ceases to be a fleeting visitor and becomes a permanent resident in your life. More than a teaching, this is an awakening. Are you willing to tune your inner instrument to the frequency of prosperity? If the answer is yes, then you are ready to activate the top-secret protocol. The diagnosis of your financial frequency. There are moments when life feels like a paradox. You affirm abundance, you visualize prosperity, you recite affirmations with dedication, yet when you open your bank account or face the reality of your daily obligations, the vibration that emerges is not one of expansion but of contraction. This contradiction is not a failure of manifestation, nor is it a flaw within you. It is the evidence of a gap between intention and embodiment, a misalignment between what your mind proclaims and what your body silently communicates. To understand this misalignment, imagine that you are a musical instrument. Your thoughts may be playing the melody of abundance, but if your body is tuned to the frequency of scarcity, the sound is dissonant. Every vibration you emit carries information, and when that information is inconsistent, the universe mirrors back the confusion. Prosperity does not reject you. It simply cannot harmonize with a signal that is fractured. This misalignment is often born from the invisible weight of history. Perhaps you grew up hearing conversations filled with worry about bills, or you witnessed loved ones work tirelessly only to barely survive. Those memories imprint themselves into your nervous system. They do not live only in your mind, but in your muscles, in the tightness of your shoulders, in the shallow rhythm of your breath, in the clenching of your jaw, when the subject of money arises. Neuroscience teaches us that repeated emotional states form pathways in the brain. Scarcity is not merely a belief, it is a neurochemical habit, a default mode your system returns to when triggered. The great challenge is that you may desire prosperity with all your conscious will, yet when the subconscious reflex of scarcity takes over, your body signals danger. Instead of perceiving opportunities, it scans for threats. Instead of expanding into creative solutions, it contracts into repetitive loops of worry. The law of attraction, at its core, is not about thinking positively while suppressing fear. It is about creating coherence between thought, feeling, and action. When your frequency is fragmented, manifestation feels like shouting into a storm. To realign, the first step is awareness. Awareness without judgment. Awareness that honors the truth of what has been. Scarcity is not your fault. It is a learned vibration, inherited from experiences, reinforced by repetition, and maintained by the nervous system's preference for what is familiar. When you recognize this, you release the shame that often accompanies financial struggle. Shame tells you that you are broken. Awareness shows you that you are conditioned. And what is conditioned can be reconditioned. The body must be retrained to feel safe in abundance. Safety is the key, because the nervous system will not allow you to receive more if it perceives expansion as dangerous. Consider how someone who has lived with instability reacts when money arrives. The immediate impulse may be to spend recklessly, to give away, or to hide it. This is not lack of discipline. It is the body's attempt to restore itself to the familiar vibration of scarcity. Prosperity to that system feels alien. Safety comes from gradually exposing yourself to new patterns of stability, celebrating small wins, and anchoring them in the body with intentional practices. Breathwork is a profound tool here. When you slow the breath, extending the exhale longer than the inhale, you send a signal to the nervous system that it is safe. Pair this with a conscious thought of abundance, not as a distant dream but as a present possibility, and the body begins to learn that prosperity does not equal threat. Another tool is language. The words you choose are frequencies. When you say, "I cannot afford this," you reinforce limitation. When you shift to, "How can I create the resources for this?" you invite expansion. The difference is not only semantic, it is vibrational. The metaphor of the tuning fork offers a clear picture. When one fork vibrates, another nearby begins to resonate at the same frequency. If your internal fork is tuned to fear, opportunities will resonate with avoidance. If it is tuned to abundance, opportunities will resonate with attraction. You are not waiting for the world to change its song. You are recalibrating your own instrument so that the symphony of life can join you in harmony. It is also essential to recognize the subtle sabotage that often accompanies scarcity. Procrastination, indecision, constant comparison, and cycles of overwork followed by burnout are not simply bad habits. They are symptoms of an underlying frequency. When your system does not truly believe in the possibility of abundance, it unconsciously avoids the actions that would bring it closer. The path forward, then, is not to push harder, but to realign deeper. The shift happens not when you force yourself to work more, but when you change the energy from which your work emerges. Practical steps for diagnosis include observing your body's reactions to financial decisions. Does your breath shorten when you think of investing in yourself? Does your stomach tighten when you imagine receiving large sums? These are not random sensations. They are indicators of your vibrational setting. By journaling these reactions, by naming them, you bring subconscious patterns into the light of consciousness. Once visible, they can be transformed. There is a paradox at the heart of manifestation. The more you chase abundance with desperation, the further it seems to run. Yet when you cultivate presence, when you align body and mind, abundance approaches naturally. This is not passivity, it is intelligent surrender. It is ceasing to fight the current of life and learning to float with it, trusting that the river carries you to fertile ground. To live in alignment with financial abundance is to live as though you are already whole. You no longer wait for external validation to feel worthy. You no longer postpone joy until money arrives. Instead, you practice coherence now. Coherent breath, coherent thought, coherent action. Prosperity becomes not a prize, but a byproduct of who you are becoming. The diagnosis of your financial frequency, then, is the beginning of the journey. It is not an indictment, but an awakening. It reveals the hidden patterns, the old vibrations, the subtle contractions that have shaped your relationship with abundance, and it invites you to retune, to realign, to remember that scarcity is not your identity. It is a learned song that can be unlearned. Beneath it, your true frequency, one of expansion, creativity, and prosperity, is waiting to be heard. The top secret protocol. When people hear the word protocol, they often think of rigid rules, a sequence of actions imposed from outside. Yet here, the meaning is different. The protocol we are about to unfold is not a restriction, but a rhythm, a carefully designed way of reorienting the mind, heart, and body so that they move as one. Without rhythm, even the most beautiful notes become noise. With rhythm, even the simplest notes become music. The top secret protocol is the rhythm that transforms fragmented intentions into coherent manifestation. The human brain, as neuroscience demonstrates, is not fixed. It is dynamic, reshaping itself in response to what it attends to, what it repeats, what it allows to matter. Every thought releases chemicals, every emotion sets electrical currents in motion, and every choice reinforces pathways that shape the self. Attention is energy, and energy is life. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If attention is constantly hijacked by fears, comparisons, and doubts, the pathways of scarcity remain dominant. The first layer of the protocol, therefore, is the re-education of attention. You learn to reclaim it from the chaos of distractions and redirect it to creation. But attention alone is not enough. Emotion gives weight to thought. A thought without emotion is like a spark without fuel. It flickers briefly and disappears. Emotion is the magnet that draws reality into form. Yet most people are caught in emotional loops that feed lack, stress, resentment, anxiety. The protocol teaches the body to anchor new emotional states of safety, gratitude, and possibility. Through practices as simple as rhythmic breathing or placing a hand on the heart, while recalling moments of genuine appreciation, the nervous system receives a signal. Prosperity is safe. Abundance is allowed. This is where science and spirituality merge. On the one hand, we have the measurable coherence between heart and brain that researchers like Dr. Joe Dispenza describe. On the other, we have the timeless wisdom of spiritual traditions affirming that when intention is aligned with emotion, the universe responds. The top secret protocol does not ask you to choose between science and spirit. It invites you to live at the intersection where both point to the same truth. Your inner coherence creates your outer reality. To make this practical, the protocol unfolds in stages. The first is decompression. Without decompression, the nervous system remains in survival mode, unable to expand. Here, you slow the breath, relax the jaw, soften the shoulders, and remind the body that it is not under threat. The second stage is direction. Once the system is calm, you focus attention on what truly matters. Not vague affirmations, but clear questions like, what value am I creating today? For whom? How will I measure it? These questions transform desire into action. The third stage is language. Words shape perception, and perception shapes possibility. Instead of speaking from lack, I can't, I don't, I wish, you begin to frame in terms of creation. I choose, I create, I allow. The final stage is consolidation. Each day you record evidence of alignment, a conversation that opened, an idea that arrived, a gesture of support you received. By honoring these signals, you train the brain to notice flow rather than absence. This becomes a cycle. Decompress, direct, speak, consolidate. Over time, it evolves from practice into identity. A useful metaphor is that of a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not chase ships. It does not beg to be seen. It simply shines, consistently and coherently. And because it shines, ships adjust their course toward it. The top secret protocol makes you the lighthouse. You stop chasing abundance with frantic energy. You embody clarity and allow opportunities to move in your direction. The genius of the protocol is that it does not demand perfection. It requires rhythm. Just as a musician may stumble on a note, yet remain within the flow of the song, you may falter, but return again and again to coherence. With each return, the old pathways of scarcity weaken and the new pathways of abundance strengthen. Over weeks, then months, the nervous system learns that prosperity is not a foreign visitor, but a familiar home. This chapter of the journey reveals that the top secret protocol is not a formula to memorize, but a way of being to embody. It honors the truth that attention is the seed, emotion is the water, language is the sunlight, and daily consistency is the soil. When all four align, growth is inevitable. The universe does not withhold abundance. It mirrors the rhythm you hold within. When you live the protocol, you are no longer at the mercy of chance. You are in conversation with life itself, and life responds with coherence. Reprogramming beliefs, body, and language. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the obstacle is no longer external, but internal. You may find that opportunities appear and disappear with unsettling speed, that the same cycles of gain and loss repeat, no matter how much effort you exert. This is not evidence that the universe is indifferent. It is proof that unresolved beliefs, unhealed emotions, and unconscious patterns are shaping the reality you meet. Reprogramming is not about denying these inner scripts, but about transmuting them into a new foundation upon which abundance can stand securely. The body often reveals what the conscious mind tries to conceal. A tightening in the stomach before asking for what you are worth, a sudden rush of guilt when money flows in, or a subtle impulse to sabotage new beginnings are all signs that the nervous system associates prosperity with risk. These reactions are rarely rational. They are echoes of old stories, absorbed through family dynamics, cultural narratives, or painful experiences that conditioned you to equate growth with loss. Without reprogramming, no amount of intention can override these reflexes. The first act of transformation is to witness these embodied responses without judgment, acknowledging them as remnants of a past self rather than permanent truths. Beliefs act like soil in which every intention is planted. If the soil is rich, seeds grow with ease. If it is depleted, even the strongest seeds struggle. Many carry hidden beliefs such as, "If I succeed, I will be rejected," or "Abundance is only for others, not for me." These phrases may never be spoken aloud, but they whisper in the subconscious, directing choices and filtering perception. Reprogramming begins by gently unearthing these beliefs, not with aggression, but with compassion, as one might uncover roots entwined around a plant. By questioning their origin, by tracing their lineage back to moments of fear or rejection, you loosen their grip. Language is a powerful instrument in this reprogramming process. Words are not neutral, they carry vibration. When you consistently speak from limitation, your nervous system reinforces limitation. When you begin to shift language, not into empty slogans but into precise declarations of creation, you redirect energy. Saying, "I am creating the resources for this," carries a different resonance than "I can't afford it." The first expands possibilities, the second collapses them. Over time, consistent language becomes more than expression. It becomes identity. You become the person who speaks abundance, feels abundance, and therefore receives abundance. The body, too, must be re-educated. Posture, breath, and movement all send signals to the subconscious about safety and possibility. A hunched spine, shallow breath, or restless gestures reinforce vigilance, keeping the system locked in survival. To reprogram, you learn to embody openness, shoulders back, breath steady, gaze expansive. These are not superficial corrections, but anchors of a new frequency. When practiced daily, they communicate to the nervous system that expansion is not only safe, but natural. The body becomes a temple of coherence rather than a vessel of fear. This process is gradual, and patience is required. Neuroscience reminds us that pathways are reinforced by repetition. Just as it took years to embody scarcity, it takes consistent practice to embody abundance. Rituals can help bridge this transition. Writing daily statements of identity in the present tense, practicing gratitude for specific experiences, or engaging in visualization that is less about the external result and more about the internal state of wholeness. Each repetition strengthens the neural circuits of prosperity and weakens the circuits of fear. There is a counterintuitive truth at the heart of reprogramming. Saying no is as important as saying yes. Many equate abundance with accepting everything, but true abundance requires discernment. When you say no to opportunities that dilute your energy, you affirm your worth. Each no becomes an act of alignment, clearing space for what truly resonates with your purpose. Prosperity is not measured by accumulation alone, but by the clarity of what you allow into your life. Consider the metaphor of a garden. Weeds are not evil. They simply grow where the soil allows. To cultivate abundance, you must tend to the soil of belief, pulling out what no longer serves and enriching it with new nutrients of thought, language, and embodiment. You water it daily with gratitude, prune it with discernment, and celebrate each new sprout, however small. Over time, the garden flourishes, not because you forced it, but because you created the conditions in which growth became inevitable. In this chapter of the journey, you begin to see that abundance is not something you chase, but something you become. Reprogramming beliefs frees the mind, re-educating the body creates safety, and refining language anchors new identity. Together, they form a triad of transformation. With each step, you release the weight of inherited scarcity and move closer to embodying prosperity as your natural state. The universe does not withhold, it mirrors. When you radiate coherence, when your inner garden is tended with care, the reflection that returns is nothing less than abundance itself. Implementation and integration. The final stage of this journey is not about theories or concepts, but about weaving everything into the rhythm of daily life. Manifestation without practice becomes fantasy. Reprogramming without consistency becomes fragile. Implementation is the bridge that carries your inner coherence into the tangible world, allowing abundance to not only appear, but to stay. It is here that the seeds of new beliefs, emotions, and language take root and bear fruit in concrete experiences. Every cycle of transformation requires a container. Without structure, the nervous system drifts back to the familiar grooves of scarcity, for the human mind prefers repetition over uncertainty. Implementation provides that container through rituals, metrics, and consistency. This does not mean creating rigid routines that suffocate your spirit, but rather crafting sacred patterns that anchor your energy. Like the steady beat of a drum in a ceremony, these patterns guide you to remain centered, even when the noise of the external world grows louder. A useful way to approach implementation is through phases. The first phase is stabilization. For 21 days, commit to simple yet profound practices that signal safety to the body and clarity to the mind. Begin each morning with conscious breathing, 3 minutes of heart-centered focus, and a statement of identity expressed in the present tense. This is not about wishing, it is about being. By declaring, "I am living in coherence with prosperity," while embodying calm breath and open posture, you set the nervous system to resonate with this reality. The second phase is engagement. Abundance is not manifested in isolation, but through relationship and exchange. Each day, choose one concrete action that expresses value in the world, reaching out to a potential partner, refining a project, offering a service, or creating something meaningful. These actions do not need to be monumental. Their power lies in consistency. The universe meets you not in perfection, but in rhythm, responding to your willingness to show up. The third phase is reflection. At the end of the day, take time to record 3 signs of alignment. Perhaps it was an unexpected conversation, a subtle idea, or a moment of peace that reminded you of your inner strength. These evidences train the brain to recognize abundance already unfolding. They are like footprints in the sand, proof that you are not wandering aimlessly, but moving along a path carved by coherence. Reflection also prevents discouragement, as it shifts the focus from what is missing to what is appearing. To integrate this rhythm fully, it is vital to honor both vibrational and practical metrics. Vibrational metrics include the quality of your sleep, the steadiness of your breath, the presence you bring to conversations, and the gratitude you feel throughout the day. Practical metrics include proposals sent, projects completed, revenue generated, and opportunities cultivated. When these 2 sets of measures rise together, you know that abundance is not only imagined but embodied. Prosperity then becomes sustainable, grounded both in the invisible and the visible. One of the challenges in this phase is impatience. The mind desires results quickly, and when outcomes do not match expectations, old patterns whisper, "See, it does not work." But the universe operates in seasons. Just as seeds do not sprout overnight, the new frequency requires time to stabilize. The discipline of returning daily to the protocol, even when external proof seems minimal, creates momentum. The invisible work beneath the surface prepares the ground for the visible harvest. Implementation is therefore less about forcing results and more about cultivating trust. Consider the metaphor of the marathon runner. Victory does not come from sprinting at full speed from the start, but from mastering cadence. Breath, stride, and focus must be managed with care. Similarly, prosperity is not the product of frantic activity, but of steady alignment. By protecting your cadence, you prevent burnout and create space for synchronicity. In this rhythm, opportunities arise naturally, relationships deepen, and financial growth unfolds as an organic outcome. Integration also involves discernment. Abundance does not mean saying yes to everything. It means aligning with what resonates and releasing what drains. Each decision becomes an affirmation of worth. When you decline opportunities that do not align with your values, you are not closing doors, but clearing space for what truly belongs. This practice protects the energy you have cultivated and strengthens the foundation for greater abundance. The journey of implementation is not about creating a perfect routine, but about embodying presence in every routine you create. When you cook, when you walk, when you speak, you are either reinforcing scarcity or reinforcing abundance. By infusing daily actions with coherence, steady breath, conscious language, intentional focus, you transform ordinary moments into rituals of manifestation. Abundance then ceases to be a distant goal and becomes the very atmosphere in which you live. Implementation and integration remind us that manifestation is not a single event, but a lifestyle. It is the continual choice to align thought, emotion, and action with the frequency of prosperity. It is the decision to cultivate safety in the body, clarity in the mind, and openness in the heart until abundance feels as natural as breath. The top secret protocol is no longer something you practice, it becomes who you are. And when coherence becomes identity, abundance has no choice but to arrive and remain. The journey you have taken through this video was not a collection of abstract ideas or distant philosophies. It was a living map, guiding you from the hidden fractures of scarcity to the integrated coherence of abundance. We began by facing the truth of your financial frequency, acknowledging that the body often carries old stories of lack, even when the mind longs for prosperity. We then explored the top secret protocol, a rhythm of attention, emotion, language, and daily action that transforms fragmented signals into a clear and powerful vibration. After that, we entered the delicate work of reprogramming beliefs, body, and language, uncovering how subconscious scripts can be rewritten with compassion and consistency. Finally, we reach the phase of implementation, where everything becomes real through practice, rhythm, and integration. The essence of this journey is simple yet profound. Abundance is not something you chase, it is something you embody. When thought, emotion, and action harmonize, the universe responds with clarity. Abundance ceases to be a prize at the end of a struggle and becomes the natural outcome of your alignment. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. Prosperity is less about effort and more about coherence, less about force and more about rhythm. Remember, the universe does not withhold, it mirrors. Every breath you take in coherence, every word you speak in truth, every action you ground in intention becomes a signal sent into the fabric of existence, and existence in turn replies with opportunities, synchronicities, and the stability you have longed for. What begins as a practice becomes an identity. What begins as a discipline becomes a way of being. And when abundance becomes who you are, it no longer leaves. It stays, it grows, it flows through you and from you, touching not only your life but the lives of those around you. Now I leave you with a question that echoes beyond this moment. Are you ready to stop repeating the old patterns of scarcity and finally step fully into the identity of abundance that has always been waiting for you? If the answer is yes, I invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you can continue this journey of transformation and alignment with every new video we share. And don't stop here. Keep watching the next video that appears on your screen right now. It will take you even deeper into the practices and revelations that sustain prosperity. Your path to coherence and abundance continues on the screen in front of you.